I still remember the sting on my cheek. It was a hot July afternoon, the kind where the air feels like soup, and I was sitting in my room, minding my own business, when my stepbrother Jake barged in. He was 15, 2 years older than me, and already had that cocky smirk plastered across his face that I hated so much. "Get out of my room," I told him, trying to sound braver than I felt. Instead of leaving, he grabbed my notebook off my desk, the one I'd been writing my little short stories in, and started reading aloud in this exaggerated, mocking voice. "The princess waited by the window," he read, laughing. "Wow, you're such a loser." I jumped up, panicking, and tried to grab it back. That's when he slapped me. It wasn't hard enough to knock me over, but it shocked me so much I froze. My face burned, and not just from the hit, from the humiliation of it. When I finally found my voice, I screamed, "Mom!" By the time she came running, Jake was sitting on the edge of my bed, looking innocent as ever. "She hit me first," he lied, and she believed him. I just stood there, blinking back tears, as Mom told me to stop overreacting and try to get along. That was the first time I realized I wasn't safe in my own house. Jake made sure of that. Over the next 10 years, he turned every single day into a game, and I was his favorite toy. But here's the thing. Life has a funny way of flipping the script, and last week, everything changed. Middle school was brutal. Jake would accidentally trip me in the hallway when we passed each other at home. He'd hide my homework, take the batteries out of my TV remote, and spread rumors about me to his friends, who of course told their siblings, who then told everyone at school. By the time I was 13, I had the reputation of being weird and boring. Mom and his dad, my stepdad, always believed him over me. If something got broken, guess who got blamed? If there was missing money from Mom's purse, guess who got grounded? I started spending more time in my room, just to avoid him, and he knew that bothered me. One night, I found my door lock broken. He'd unscrewed it while I was at school. "House rules," he said with a shrug when I confronted him. "No locked doors." He knew exactly what he was doing. I cried myself to sleep that night. But here's the thing. I started getting smarter. I started hiding my journal in places he'd never think to look. I learned to keep my earbuds in and my head down, so his words wouldn't get to me as much. I told myself that when I turned 18, I'd leave and never look back. By the time I was 17, I had learned how to survive. But there was one day I'll never forget. It was prom night. I wasn't going. I couldn't afford the dress. But I had planned a quiet night of movies and ice cream in my room. Jake had other plans. He came home drunk with his friends and decided it would be funny to throw beer cans at my window from the backyard until I came outside, when I finally yelled at him to stop. He recorded me on his phone, edited the clip to make it look like I was screaming for no reason, and posted it online. Within hours, kids from my school were texting me laughing emojis. I remember sitting in my bathroom, shaking so hard my teeth chattered. It wasn't just about the video. It was about everything. I felt so small, so powerless. That night, I decided I would do whatever it took to get out. I worked extra shifts at the grocery store. I saved every penny. I was going to college in another state if it killed me. College was my escape. I got accepted to a state school 5 hours away. When move-in day came, I barely looked back at the house. For the first time, I felt free. No Jake. No constant walking on eggshells. I made friends, joined a book club, even started writing again. But every time I had to come home for the holidays, the anxiety came back. Jake was older now, but he hadn't changed. He'd make snide remarks about my major. English? Good luck paying rent. About my hair, about my clothes. One Thanksgiving, he even told a story at the dinner table about how pathetic I was in high school. Just to make everyone laugh, I smiled through it. But that night I cried in the guest room. I realized then that Jake didn't just hate me. He needed me to be miserable. And that thought burned in my chest for weeks. Last week, my mom called me out of nowhere. "Jake's in trouble," she said. Turns out he'd gotten into a fight at work and lost his job. He needed a place to stay. and she was asking if he could crash at my apartment for a few days. Every cell in my body screamed no. But a weird calm came over me. Sure, I said. Because suddenly, I wanted him to see me now. When Jake showed up, he looked different. Older, tired, not the smug boy I remembered, but still him. He walked into my apartment and looked around, and for the first time, I saw something flicker in his eyes. Respect. That night, we sat in awkward silence until he finally said, "Look, I know I was a jerk to you growing up." I just stared at him. He swallowed hard. "I don't expect you to forgive me, but I'm sorry. I really am." I didn't know what to say. Part of me wanted to scream at him for every night. I cried myself to sleep. But another part of me, the part that had spent years rebuilding herself, just felt tired. So I said, "I believe you." And for the first time in 10 years, I felt the weight lift off my chest. Jake stayed for a week. It was weird, but not in the way I expected. He did the dishes. He thanked me for dinner. He even asked about my writing. And for the first time in my life, we talked, really talked. He told me about how angry he'd been as a teenager, about feeling like I replaced him when our parents got married. I told him about how small he made me feel, how long it took to feel whole again. There were tears on both sides. And when he left, he hugged me. "I'll make it up to you," he said. I don't know if he can, but for the first time, I believe he might try. Here's what I've learned. People can change, but not for you. They change when life humbles them. I spent 10 years hating Jake, wishing he'd get what he deserved, and now, I just want peace, and I think I finally have it. 3 months after Jake left, I got a phone call late at night. It was Mom. "Jake's in the hospital," she said, voice shaky. "Car accident. He's okay, but he asked for you." My stomach twisted. For a moment, I thought about saying no. After everything, why should I rush to his side? But my body was already moving, throwing on shoes, grabbing my keys. When I got to the hospital, Jake was lying in bed with his arm in a sling and a bandage across his forehead. He grinned weakly when he saw me. "You came." "I did," I said, my voice softer than I expected. We sat in silence for a while before he said, "When I was a kid, I thought being mean to you would make me feel better about everything. But all it did was make me worse." I looked at him, really looked at him, and saw someone who was trying, not perfect. Not redeemed, but trying. That was enough for me. The accident changed something in both of us. Jake started therapy. He got a new job. He called me once a week just to check in, and for the first time, I started sharing my writing publicly, something I'd been too scared to do for years. Last month, one of my short stories went semi-viral online. Jake texted me, "Proud of you. Always knew you could write like that." I laughed when I saw it. 10 years ago, that same boy would have mocked me until I cried. Now, he was cheering me on. I don't know if we'll ever be the kind of siblings who share inside jokes or have Sunday dinners together. But when I think about my childhood now, I don't just feel anger anymore. I feel relief. Because I survived it. Because I made something of myself anyway. And because I learned the most important lesson of my life. Your past doesn't define you, you do.